Welcome. I'm Kinetic Symphony. I hunt down and report on mysterious and weird, true stories, from glitches to the paranormal. Case file number 760, written by SirWellsy, the official police glitch. Backstory: I used to be a cop in rural USA. One day I got a checkup. I drive to the address, which is just a few minutes outside of town. When pulling into the property, I get an eerie feeling. I went to the residence, which was an older modular trailer home. The front door had a diamond-shaped window. After knocking for a bit, I began to hear noises sounding like a walking sound from the barn next to the residence. I was shining my flashlight around the property as it was night and had the feeling I was going to turn around and see someone standing in the window of the door. I checked the barn and could not locate anyone or the source of the sound. After several minutes of knocking and no answer, I returned to service. The glitch. I left the residence and drove back towards town. While on my way, I called a friend and coworker and was telling him about the strange feeling and sounds on the call. I was on the phone with him for over 15 minutes and realized I was nowhere near town. After several more minutes of driving, I turned around and headed back towards the residence. I arrived at the driveway in a little over a minute, turned around again and drove back towards town and made it in just a few minutes. I don't know why it took so long. I can't explain it at all. To cap off the creepiness, after I arrived back in town, the individual I went to check on called in to my dispatch and thanked me for coming to check on him. He said he had been watching me the entire time. Case notes for file 760, the official police glitch. So I always want to say it's aliens. It's just my thing, aliens are so cool. There are some problems with that here though. The first is that you were talking with your friend and during that time, presumably he didn't notice any gaps with you talking. So if you were abducted, he would have known. It also means that it couldn't have been some time anomaly, because you were communicating back and forth with no delay or any alteration to your voice or anything. Basically, he didn't notice anything strange. So there was actual an expansion of space in your localized area. Time itself was preserved though. Did the man that called you out somehow cause a glitch? Is it actually a man? Is this an alien of some sort testing some device? Or maybe a government agent? You always have to be aware of the government. Aliens might not actually exist. It might actually just be some sort of attempt to gaslight the public by the government. I'm not sure. I hope they exist. I'd prefer that. That's much more fun. Project Bluebeam. Case file number 761, written by TheAngelVoice. The monkey is defeated by the octopus. I collect stuffed animals as a sort of hobby. When I pass by somewhere that is affordable, I often buy one and add it to my collection. I don't really go out of my way to buy any though. About a week ago, I was in a museum and I saw a collection of cute stuffed animals and, as they weren't too expensive, I wanted to buy one. When I looked closer, I loved both a monkey and an octopus one that looked super adorable and I couldn't decide between them. Since I didn't want to stand there for ages, I just picked the monkey one and bought it. I remember taking it outside with me and even distinctly remember propping it up nicely with some other ones. I know that I had the monkey one, and my friend remembers it as well because I told her about what I bought back then. Well, now I woke up this morning and walked by my collection and noticed one of my other stuffed animals had fallen down. So I put it back up, and just before continuing what I was doing before, my eyes fell on the octopus I hadn't bought. I looked everywhere for the monkey one, but it vanished completely. Today I asked my friend if she remembered me buying the monkey, and she was just as confused as I was. So 2 people remember me buying the stuffed animal of a monkey, but what I actually got was an octopus. Case notes for file 761. When the monkey is defeated by the octopus. That title though. I don't know where I come up with these things. So the first note is that the fact that your friend remembers that you bought the monkey, not the octopus, means that it's not quantum immortality. Because if you did transition universes, you'd be the only one who'd notice, and your friend would remember you buying the octopus. So you're still in the same universe, Somehow, there was just a switcheroo going on, sort of like a disappearing object phenomenon, but replaced. Other than that, it's like a state of quantum superposition at a macro level, which shouldn't be possible. At the very fundamental level, there's like this quantum foam, and the particles in it are excitations of the foam. Sometimes the particles can sort of move or tunnel very small distances. In fact, this is how the sun even fuses anything. Without quantum tunneling, this very tiny amount of teleportation in a sense, we wouldn't have solar fusion. So that's pretty good that this happens, but it doesn't happen at a macro scale. It's all very, very unimaginably tiny scales. So that this somehow happened at a large scale is baffling, and does defy the laws of physics as we currently understand them. You might have a single atom or a collection of 10, a bundle, but any stuffed animal is going to have quadrillions of atoms in it. So many you couldn't even fathom. So that they all somehow transpose themselves into another location, so specifically related to your affair, it has to be directed. This couldn't be some random event. Something willed it to happen, either through some unknown scientific device or some sort of entity. Case file number 762, written by Nightingale. When chaos is mandated. Before anyone asks, I don't think anyone is stealing from me or breaking in when I'm not home. I don't think my cleaning lady, kid, or partner would take this stuff and move it as a sick joke. And I don't think I have early onset dementia or anything like that. And no, I'm not OCD. I just know where my stuff is and learned at a really young age to have a place for everything and everything in its place. I've always been a bit sensitive. Although not a firm believer in the supernatural, I do think that the multi-world theory is at least plausible, the one where there are multiple universes running concurrently that sometimes overlap or intersect. Sometimes weird things happen to me, around me, and I've just largely learned to accept it and move on. When I was younger, I would have dreams about people who other people said simply did not and never did exist. I'd know stuff before it happened, or remember stuff that I could have never known. I found lost stuff easily, and sometimes weird things happened where stuff I knew had just disappeared forever. I have lots of memories of things people swear never happened. Parents and siblings chalked it up to overactive imagination of a highly creative and a bit odd child. I never quite felt in step with reality, but largely learned to deal with it and keep my trap shut about the crap that I experienced, since it tended to weird people out. So when the chance came up a couple years ago, I took a leap of faith and bought the house I grew up in as a kid and moved home. The house was exactly as I remembered it, down to the smell of the hardwood and wood-stained smell. There were a few remodeling things that had been done, but for the most part I can still walk through my house with my eyes closed, knowing how many steps it takes to get from one part of the house to another. I found myself feeling peaceful, mentally for the first time in a long time. I also tend to be pretty meticulous about where I put things. Items may go disorganized to other people, but there's a logical sense and order to where things go. However, more recently, I felt that weird pressure that I used to feel when things just weren't in sync, and now things are disappearing around me. A few weeks ago, I made a stew called burgo, which is a conglomeration of meats and vegetables, which I always cook in a tall aluminum stew pot. It takes hours to make, and so I only do that in a big batch, 3 to 4 times a year, and freeze the rest. This time was significant because I was making it for a special occasion. When the cooking was done, the pot went into the sink to soak. My cleaning lady comes on Tuesday and Friday to help with certain tasks like washing up and sweeping and mopping. She remembers washing the pot because she had to scrub a little burnt stuff off the bottom. I know the pot was put away because I put it away myself after my helper washed out the pan. It went on the pot rack with the lid on top just like it should. I went to grab the pot the other day to make a big batch of spaghetti sauce, and the entire pot is missing. The lid for it is right there where it should be, but the pot is gone. We've searched everywhere for it and it's nowhere to be found. It's even bothering my cleaning lady because I asked her if she knew where it went, and she can't find it anywhere either. Next, stuff seems to be missing from my bathroom medicine cabinet. I keep small pill bottles with labels on them for over-the-counter medicines so that they stay organized. It's nothing expensive, just basic things such as antihistamines, nothing with ephedrine. Think Claritin and migraine pills, diarrhea medicine, ibuprofen, etc. on the shelves. I actually have everything in a specific place because if I need something, I know just where to go for it. Several bottles of these medications are gone. Not empty, just empty space in the cabinet. I asked my partner to come look tonight and he also said that there was stuff missing because there's usually no empty space in the cabinet. And aside from him, me and the cleaning lady, there's practically never anyone in the house. The kid comes home occasionally to do laundry, but there's no reason for the kid to take a whole bottle of aloe vera cooling gel from the cabinet. Later, I find this stuff in places that I never would think that I would put or move them. Again, the cleaning lady and the partner, kid, would have zero reason to move this stuff to the weird places I've been finding it. Case notes for file 762, When Chaos is Mandated. So first I just want to say that I love the idea of going back and purchasing the house that you originally lived in when you were growing up. I myself have moved so many times growing up, at least a dozen, if not more. So I wouldn't even know which house to buy, although there's a few. There was one I think was in Saint Nazaire, and I used to play all the time with this friend I had from school and just bike over. He had this giant tree in his backyard and we'd climb it all day. I love that. I still like to climb trees, to be honest. Mainly now I just do it for pull-ups. So the first explanation for this, just could be a mundane reasoning, is carbon monoxide poisoning. It's always something to consider whenever there's cases of hauntings or disappearing objects. If things are misplaced, check into that. I know you are, so that's good. Although, I'm not entirely convinced by that because usually if you're reaching a point of carbon monoxide poisoning to the extent of hallucinations, you'd probably have other symptoms like heavy headaches and other things like that. Basically, your brain is being deprived of oxygen, which is not a good thing. The other possibility is that it's your cleaning lady that is just stealing from you. Sadly, a very real possibility in the realm of human evil, or at least mischief. Now that is possible, although it's very odd that you do find them again later on, at least most of them. And why steal a pot but leave the lid? Why not take the lid too? Why steal the cheap medication though? It would make it so obvious that it could be her. If it was just a pot, and the lid was gone too, and you never found it again, then yeah, that would be very likely. But the fact the lid was still there, and there's cheap medication being stolen, what's the point of that? You can't really resell it or anything, and I don't think you can get high from it, although I'm not an expert on drugs, so maybe you can. Still, even if it is possible, why not just buy it yourself? Why go through this rigmarole and make yourself suspicious? The only other thing I can think of is some sort of disappearing object phenomena, and there are quite a few glitches like that, so I'd say that's about as likely as any other mundane explanation, which in of itself is kinda cool. The world is weird, and I love it.